Hello, this is Ken, and in today's video, I would like to share a specific advice for those students that just starting to go into their first career or first job after graduation. So in today's video, I hope to give you some thought about a particular skill set that I find it very beneficial even to myself throughout my whole career. And the goal is definitely to help you get your career started with the right foundation or the right footing. So before I go into it, I do wanted to share one of the things that I really enjoy doing in teaching is definitely to try to share throughout the subjects that I'm teaching a specific principle that actually can be applied in your personal life. Because I always believe that once you really understood a specific principle that's underlying the subject I'm teaching, and you learn and actually can practice how to apply them to your own personal life, you will actually realize that when you go to work using the same skill set, it's no different. It's just a different context. So you actually have a lot of more skills in you that you actually probably already demonstrated and or already practiced throughout your life leading up to your first job. You just need a little bit of a help to make that connection and understand that. So this particular advice kind of fall under that category. Things that I know all of you probably are very capable of, but when you start working, you tend to feel work environment is a little bit different than academic or at home. So you somehow disconnected that thought process between the skill sets that actually cross over the boundaries into all the different contexts. So here it is. The piece of advice I will give you is, it came from one class I have taken during my undergrad course. It's a general education. I had to take a speech class. So as you can imagine, going through a whole semester of speech course, you learn all kinds of stuff, which I don't remember any of it. However, most of the time when I walk away from one class, I do walk away with just one thing that tend to stick with me. And from that speech class, what actually grabbed hold of me in that whole quarter or semester of course was a phrase that says, always analyze your audience when you're about to talk to people or when you're about to go in and make a speech or go in and present a meeting. That's it. That's the only thing I remembered. And yet, because I remembered it, I started to really think about it every step along the way. And then what I realized is that is one of the best, most powerful skills I actually walked away from a class. So what does that mean? That means I started to understand that a lot of times, a lot of us, when we are presented an opportunity to go speak, to go engage in a dialogue, or to debate, or to facilitate a meeting, or make a presentation, we naturally wanted to present the information the way we want to present them, the way I want to explain certain things to the people or the audience. Whereas from that principle, it taught us it's not about how you want to say what you want to say. The outcome that you want out of any engagement or a meeting or a presentation is not about me. It's about the conclusion that my audience has to draw by the time I am done, and hopefully that conclusion is in line to where I want them to think or to be at mentally. So if that is the ultimate goal of me engaging and talking to anybody, why would I want to persist communicating in the way that I want to say it, as opposed to in a way that can best be consumed by the audience? The level of information they're willing to consume, they're willing to process, as well as how they can interpret the information that you're presenting them. You have to adapt to who the audience is to shape or reshape how you want to deliver those messages. And that will give you the best outcome in any engagement or presentation. So case in point, now, how do you actually do this? I can guarantee you a lot of you have already done that. So here's a very practical example of how that actually comes into play in your everyday life. So if I were to ask you all of you that remember that one time as you were growing up, if you wanted to go to your parents and ask for something that you probably know is gonna be a hard sell, whether or not that means you want to stay out until 12 o'clock in the morning, Saturday with your friends, or you want to buy this very expensive MacBook, whatever the case may be, all of you probably gone through the experience of asking your parents for something that you know the likelihood of a yes is going to be fairly low. So think about that one experience in your life. Now, here's what you actually did. You probably know when you should bring up the subject with your parents. You probably will also know not only when to bring it up, should I ask mom about this or dad about this? Who will give you the higher probability of willing to even listening to your ask, right? And then the when, do you bring it up in the morning before the parents had coffee, or do you do it during the supper time? You know what their mood swings are, you know their days are. You try to find the timing and the word and to who, and then you probably shape how you want to go about it to try to get the best probability of getting a yes out of either one of them. That is literally you practicing the skill sets about analyzing your audience, right? We all grew up knowing how to talk to our siblings and what words to use, when to say what we want to say, or sometimes we don't even go out and say what we want to our parents or siblings. We actually dance around them by asking questions. I'll give you my personal example. Sometimes my wife don't like to go out and hike for 2 hours, and it's something that I wanted to do. So for me to say, hey, Lisa, let's go out and hike for 2 hours tomorrow, she's probably gonna say, no, I don't feel like that, right? So I have to dance around it. I know my audience. I know how she thinks, right? I will actually say, you know what? The kids been kind of staying home the whole week. They really haven't had a lot of time to go out and just exercise. I think it's probably good for their health to go out and really get some exercise. You see, I changed my message. I'm not out there saying what I wanted to say. I went out and kind of danced around it by staging it up my communication to let her draw the conclusion that I want her to draw. Again, me analyzing the audience, applying communication techniques to lead them down to where I want the conclusion to be. So if I ask questions in that way, guess what my wife's gonna say? Yeah, you're right. We probably need to go outdoors and just make them, walk and exercise. I say, yeah, where should we go? Maybe let's go hiking. It's close, it's right, in the backyard. Go hike up the mountain and come back down. Probably an hour and a half and two. That way we don't have to drive out anywhere far. And then boom, naturally she said, yeah, that sounds good. It's somewhere close, then we'll just be back for lunch. So you kind of see, we all practice that skill sets. We know how to communicate because we analyze the audience of people that is close to us. At work, I'm just saying you have to do the same thing, right? There's certain time you'll bring certain things up to your peers, to your team, or to your boss that actually will have a better chance for them to willing to consume. And then how you deliver your message to them actually have to tailor to how they would like to consider things, how they think, right? How they interpret conclusions. And ultimately, your goal is to get something done for the organization. It's no different than your ultimate goal, such as my example, is to get my whole family out to hike and get some exercise for 2 hours. Even though that's not the ideal conclusion for some of them, but the way that I presented it, the way that I analyze how they will consume it and how they draw conclusions, I have a better chance of actually achieving the outcome that I set out to do in the first place throughout my presentation or communication. So again, the tip here is when you start your work, apply the same skills. Observe, understand your team, understand how they interpret information, how they consume communication, or how they consume directions that comes from you, so that they are willing and motivated and wanting to do this, or at least at the minimum, draw the conclusion that we should do this. All right, hopefully you find that tip helpful in your careers. Practice that, analyze your audience, reshape your message. That will give you the outcome that you're looking for in any engagement at work. You're already doing it at home. All right, hope you enjoyed that little tip here. Hit the subscribe button for all my future tips and videos. Hopefully that will help you in your career. Thank you.